Hello again, everyone. Edwin Learnard back once again in this YouTube astrological segment. I'm going to be talking about the astrological chart of renowned psychic, self-proclaimed psychic anyway, Sylvia Browne. Now, the thing about it is Sylvia Browne was somewhat controversial because a lot of people saw her, were skeptical of her and as far as her work goes, so to speak, and her ability to prophesize and make predictions. Now, but what really compel me to do this video, I saw something online recently. It was a post somebody had about a book. I believe it's entitled Eyes of Darkness, and it has a thing about Sylvia Browne apparently making a prediction where it seemed like she was prophesizing this coronavirus. Now you may want to look at it and corroborate that and verify it, but it wouldn't shock me if it's actually, I don't know 100% if it's true because I hadn't confirmed this. I don't actually have the book itself, but I saw an excerpt of this book online and on a Facebook post, and it looked like it was legitimate to me. But the thing about it is, now when I look at this, now she had made, according to Wikipedia.org, there were a number of predictions that were erroneous that she made. Now, I'm sure she did make a number that were actually, that were veracious, that were going to turn out to be valid. Now, talking about her chart, the first thing I noticed, as far as breaking down, looking at the sun, moon, and ascendant, sun in Libra, moon in Sagittarius, and Aquarius ascendant. I think it's interesting how this pans out. You look at the sun in Libra, you look at the basic ones. When you look at the sun, moon, and ascendant, it's basically broken down very systematically, starting out with the sun energy, going to the moon, and then ending with the ascendant energy. Now, when you're talking about the sun in Libra, well, the sun in Libra, the basic ones can be connected with wanting relationships, ingratiating themselves with others, finding some balance and peace in their life. And when you look at the fact that the moon is in Sagittarius, this may have been done by attempting at least to utilize some prophetic ability to be visionary, to forecast things ahead of time. And you look at the fact it's also the moon, which is the unconscious. It would not surprise me if she really did have certain psychic prowess and ability. Now, I understand Sagittarius, not a fire sign. It's not a water sign. It's a fire sign. But Sagittarius energy still can be prophetic and be able to see the road ahead. Now, you look at in the fact that it's flavored with the Aquarius ascendant energy. This may have been done very altruistically, a lot of times very selflessly, and done through television, and all that energy can be connected with Aquarius. And Aquarius is futuristic anyway, insane. Often, they're often, they're very progressive. Aquarius is the sign associated with the future. I found that very interesting. Now, in her natal chart, she also has a preponderance of planets above the horizon, which of course could indicate being much more extroverted than introverted, more gregarious than as opposed to being private, and also more objective than subjective as well. And she, her three majors, what I say is the three major proponents in one's natal chart, sun, moon, ascendant, are all in masculine signs. And she, in this energy, the sun and the moon are above the horizon, which of course could add to that energy coming out very publicly. And the thing about you look at the chart as well. Another thing I noticed, she only had one planet in the second quadrant of the chart, the fourth, which of course is comprised of the fourth, fifth, and sixth houses now, or houses 4, 5, and 6. Now, the thing about this is that could be an area where she might have not put as much emphasis on as maybe she needed to, or didn't accentuate that as much as other elements in her life. She probably was really more very strongly, as far as what she emphasized more about her career, her public image, her goals, her aspirations. And you look at this as well, and the thing about her chart, to me, Now, she also had in her chart, I noticed she had Saturn in Pisces, conjunct the second house cusp. She had the Pluto in Cancer in her sixth house, and she had also Venus conjunct, she also had Scorpio midheaven, in Venus conjunct the midheaven. And when you're talking to me, what I would perceive as a very long, you could say a rather long grand water trine. It doesn't quite meet the parameters for the grand water trine configuration, but you could argue it'd be a very rather long grand water trine because of the, especially with the distance between the Saturn in Pisces and that Pluto in Cancer. The Saturn in Pisces was like 16 degrees, and then the Pluto in Cancer 28 degrees. Now, when grand water trines in astrology can often one could often be very proficient in things that require intuitive energy, being intuitive and having and feeling things as well, having ability to feel things out, being able, to see, and also great sensitivity as well. And the thing about this is with the Saturn, and these energies can often work very well together. In this case, Saturn in Pisces, and in conjunct the second house cusp, the Pluto and Cancer in the sixth, and the Venus in that Venus on the midheaven in Scorpio. Now, when you have this energy, especially when I'm looking at this, the Saturn in Pisces, and it's not far from a critical degree, which of course is the 17th degree in mutable signs. Saturn in Pisces can do well, be proficient in a career that involves being mediumistic by being very intuitive, working as a medium or psychic. And then you have the Pluto in Cancer. It's close to the millionaire's degree, really. And when you consider not far from the 29th degree in Cancer, this could give some very strong occult ability. Cancer can be one of the signs associated with the occult, and of course Pluto governs the occult. And having that Venus in a Scorpio conjunct the midheaven, this could be about making money through doing something with the supernatural, which could include the occult. And I'm sure she was involved in that, but I don't really, what I'm thinking of too is I haven't really heard about this, but it wouldn't surprise me if maybe she had some astrological ability as well. Now, I haven't heard anything about it. I mean, she's renowned for being the self-proclaimed psychic medium or what have you, but it would not surprise me or astound me if she actually had some astrological ability as well. Now, she also has in her chart, again, the Saturn in going back to the Saturn in Pisces, conjunct the second house cusp. So it's not surprising she was able to make a career. I mean, Saturn can be connected with the career, and Pisces can, be very mediumistic. It's not, and then conjunct the second house cusp of income. Now, she also had, when I looked at this as well, one of the rulers, Jupiter, of the second house cusp was close to the North Node. And so it's not surprising that she was able to do this, as far as fulfilling a mission and purpose and part of the destiny. North Node in Sagittarius can often be, you're talking about Sagittarius as visionary energy, seeing what can be prophetic. So it's not surprising she did something as far as the future goes. She actually was able, I would believe, was able to see the future in some instances, likely, and part of a goal and aspiration. And then the Jupiter being in close proximity to it can give extra luck and fortune for this, and it could be could have been very fortuitous for her in giving greater prosperity. And you're going to that. Interestingly enough, going to that Pluto in Cancer in the sixth house, close to the millionaire's degree, I'm sure she probably made at least $1 million doing what she did. So anyway, another thing I noticed too is that you're looking at again, the moon in Sagittarius. This was also, I mean, moon in Sagittarius again. I mean, another thing about that I noticed with her moon in Sagittarius, it also made a sextile to the Mercury in Libra, which could give an ability to articulate what she was forecasting very well, but being Mercury being in Libra, not wanting that what she said necessarily to be edited or to be suppressed or held back, because Mercury in Libra can often be about doing, wanting to speak, and say their fair share. They're willing to listen to what others have to say, but at the same time, they also would like to be able to have others hear them without being edited. Hold on a moment, people. Now, another thing I noticed in her chart is that she also uh, has Neptune conjunct the eighth house cusp in Virgo. Now, she was reputed, or I should say, had at least she proclaimed she could see forecast death. And this energy is such where she may have prophesized, death in some cases, and maybe did so with that strong Virgo attention to detail. Virgo energy, of course, could be very punctilious with details. She may have done this forecasting death in some instances with the ability, by being very punctilious with details and that meticulous attention to detail. And Neptune was also in a critical degree at 17, so that can make the energy more prominent and more pronounced. Now, sadly, she had, according to Wikipedia.org, she was in some trouble on some loan investment or something. You may want to look that up to confirm the details on that. Speaking of details, and there was apparently some, money that was being, she had borrowed from a bank or something. And keep in mind, she has Neptune conjunct the eighth house cusp. The eighth house cusp can be the eighth house in astrology can be about loans, and then of course Neptune energy could be very deceptive and duplicitous. So you can do the math as far as that goes. And maybe she was showing some escapist tendencies, sadly, trying to escape in paying a loan back to the bank. So she obviously had some issues as well. She was far from flawless or infallible. I mean, there's no perfect person, but this was something that was fairly serious, because if I remember correctly, she was sentenced to like 200 hours community service as part of like a probation deal or something like that. But again, you can confirm that. Look on Wikipedia.org to see the gory details as far as that goes. Now, really don't have too much more to say about, and as far as her chart goes, another thing though that I noticed as well, she also had Uranus was in her third house in her chart. So this could give thinking on a very advanced level and communicating in a way that might be somewhat, I mean, you want to say futuristic, but on a more advanced level than other people. And I think, and it wouldn't surprise me if and also being able to communicate about the future. And the fact that it's in Taurus shows me this may have been done in a very calm, placid, very composed manner, but done with a lot of persistence as well, and something that maybe she strongly valued. So those are some things that I wanted to touch up on as far as this goes as well. So anyway, there's really not much more I wanted to say regarding as far as her chart goes. Now, another thing about her chart, if I'm not mistaken, Virgo was on the eighth house cusp, and Mercury, I believe, was in her ninth house. So she had the ruler of the eighth house in the ninth house. So it's not surprising her death was something that would be communicated globally. So anyway, people, and also trying to think if there's anything else I'm going to say regarding her chart. I believe that is it though. Anyway, people, that'll conclude this YouTube astrological segment. Until next time, people, Edwin Learnard saying, stay well.